Well, hello everyone, and welcome to this broadcast to Sunday Night Live. It is fantastic to have you all with us today. I am your host, Mark DeJesus, bringing you insights for your healing and freedom journey. This is a Sunday Night Live where I'll be taking some questions, and I've got a few here on the docket ready to go. Tonight, my wife and my daughter are out at an event together, so my wife is not here. But, ladies and gentlemen, I have an amazing, super duper special guest with us here in the house today. This is a treat for you. My son, Maximus John DeJesus, is here in the house today, folks. He's kissing his guns. That's he's got the guns going. How you doing, son?
I'm doing good, Mr. Mark. Thank you very much.
Mr. Mark, aka Dad, right? How's your day going, buddy?
Well, it's pretty good. Well, it's going good very recently.
Yeah?
Did some drawings, watched a little television.
Tell everyone about your drawings. Now, before we get to your drawings, you are growing at a rapid rate. You are like, what, 6'2" now? Would you say 6'2"? Maybe a little bit more than that? I don't know. You're officially taller than me. I know that much. So you're growing out of clothes left and right, but you're into drawing. Take a moment and let everybody know about your drawing. What kind of drawings do you like doing?
Well, my favorite kind of drawings are like Godzilla, like kaiju stuff, and dinosaurs, including Jurassic Park and other kinds of dinosaur media.
Yeah, you've been moving into doing some like nice shading and color, and then the other day, you got up in the morning and you did a real nice fancy painting. And what did you say was the style of?
Bob Ross.
That's it. He got a Bob Ross painting going. It looked really good too. It looked really, really good. You are really developing in your skills in that. So thank you for joining me today and spending a little bit of time helping me out a little bit with the chat. You're going to help me out with the chat in just a little bit?
Well, yeah.
Okay, that's awesome. So do you want to just say hello to the people in the chat? It is kind of rolling there. People are giving you hand claps there in the chat. So
Thank you.
Do you want to just greet everyone or greet as many as you can see? Try not to push too many buttons.
Hello, everyone.
Do you want to read off their names?
Sure, I got Andrian, Megan, Rebecca, Kai, Lynn, Megan, and Kevin, and Alexandra, and David.
Do you want to keep going?
Nah, I'm okay.
What's God been doing in your life these days?
Well, he has a plan for me, and I tend to follow it. Well, so far it's being an artist, and I feel very passionate about that.
That's awesome. This morning we were having a talk as a family, and you shared some really cool stuff about Moses. You really seem to connect with Moses. Can you tell everyone why you really like connecting to Moses?
Well, he's a great man. He led the Israelites from Egypt, from Mount Sinai to the land of milk and honey.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, I don't know the real name where they came to, but it came to be known as the land of Canaan.
Yeah, yeah. And we were talking about Moses, how he struggled with being afraid, and he struggled with anger, but God still worked with him and still used him, right?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, yeah.
He led them through a giant cloud led the Israelites to the land, and at night a giant pillar of fire led them.
Yeah, right on, brother. So could you take a moment and share what we did on Friday as a family? You've been waiting to do this for quite some time.
Well, we went to the Carolina Raptor Center. It's like this little Jurassic Park of birds of prey, also known as raptors, not the ones from Jurassic Park.
Yeah. Tell me, when you went, what was your favorite bird that we saw there?
It was the African crowned crane, I believe.
Oh, okay. That was your favorite?
Yeah.
Do you know what my favorite was?
What?
Think about it for a second. What's Dad's favorite?
The bald eagle.
Yes, the bald eagle.
Why do you even like that species of bird anyway?
I don't know. I just feel like it's so majestic and powerful. There's a lot of...
Like God?
Yeah. The Bible does talk about eagles. I saw a video actually today. You want to talk to somebody?
Comment player that 70s bike says, I photograph raptors in the wild.
Oh, very nice. I saw a video today, Max, about it was an eagle that actually came down to grab a fish, but the fish was too heavy, so he used his wings to just push himself in the water, went all the way to shore, and then pulled out. It was like a trout. He had a big trout that was really, really heavy. Yeah. Anybody else that you want to acknowledge in the feed?
Well, there's that 70s bike again who says, I love owls.
Yeah. Jesus is Lord 777 gave Bob Ross with a heart. Yeah. Rebecca, 6'2". So I'm like right at 6 feet. So he's taller than me, and we're just trying to keep up with his growing figure there. So Max, I have a question for you. If somebody's struggling in their journey to figure out their purpose, do you have anything you'd want to share with them? Or I don't mean to put you on the spot.
Just give yourself to remind that God is in your heart. He has a plan for you and intend on following it.
Yeah. What helps encourage you every day?
Well, I sometimes watch Bible TV shows about the history of the Bible.
Yeah. You have a very, very powerful memory too. Like you remember stuff. You have like memories when you were like a little kid. You remember the restaurant we went to, the place we went to. You remember places, location, and memories a lot. It's like a superpower that you have. It's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Is there any other comments you find interesting you want to respond to?
Well, not yet.
Megan Boyles says she has a Bob Ross shirt on right now.
Oh, that's nice. Can you order me one of those?
I knew that'd be your next thought. Janada's saying hello too. He's saying, hey, Max.
Oh, hey, Janada.
Yeah. And I'm just scrolling here. Yeah. Do you see any other...
Well, Jesus is Lord 77 says, all God's creatures are beautiful.
Yeah.
Even the ugly ones.
What's a creature that you think is kind of ugly but still beautiful? Is there one that you think of?
Well, if I was going to ask one, it would be the vulture.
You know, that vulture that we saw on Friday, it was like ugly. But it was also beautiful because it was so colorful. And then when they had the demonstration, remember that black vulture? I don't know what kind it was.
The black vulture.
What kind was it?
The black vulture.
Is that what it's called? The black vulture?
Yes.
That it came swooping in and they had it fly and do. Yeah.
It went whew.
Yes. Yeah. It made it like I had like an affection for it. Like I felt like, oh, that's really, really cute, right? Did you feel that too?
Mm-hmm.
So I know you like to tell jokes, so I'm going to let you go ahead and tell a couple jokes if you'd like to. You want to do that?
Sure.
Go ahead.
First one. What kind of a mushroom likes to party a lot?
I don't know.
A fun guy.
Good one. Well done. Fun guy. I want to be a fun guy. Go ahead. You got another one?
Oh yeah. What do geese what do geese use to put stuff together?
What do geese use to put stuff together? I don't know.
Duct tape.
That's a good one. Duct tape solves just about any problem. A lot of people who have questions today, maybe they could just use duct tape and it'll solve the problem. Do you have anything else that you want to share, Max?
I've heard of that old restaurant down the street on 11th Street. Their restaurants there are the worst. You asked for a roast chicken with extra crispy. They ordered you a chicken with arthritis.
Good one, brother. Good one. You got anything else, or you want to say anything to anyone else, or you good? You good?
Last one.
Okay.
What do you call a bear with no teeth?
I don't know.
A gummy bear.
Good one. I feel like you're on a roll. Do you have another one, or are you good?
I think I'm good.
Okay. Do you want to say goodbye to everyone, or do you have any last words you want to share?
Oh, that's it?
Yeah, unless there's anything else you want to share.
Well, I'd like to say goodbye to everyone, and I just want to say, may God be with you, and let God inspire you all the way.
That's amazing, Max. You have such a great heart. I appreciate you, buddy. Thanks, man. I really appreciate you coming and taking some time. I'm gonna have a dance break here while you get situated. And thanks, buddy. Appreciate you coming on. All right, buddy. I actually used the wrong song. I'll get to Max's song in the next dance break. But welcome. Thank you so much for all of you who've been so kind in the chat and so forth, letting my son hang out with us for a little bit. It's a nice little treat. Isn't it? So him and I are going to go hang out for a little bit after the broadcast today. So we're looking forward to that. I got a few questions I'm going to get into tonight in just a moment. Want to let you all know too that our community is up and running. If you have a passion for the materials that I have and you want to have access to all my training courses as well as access to community Q&As, and in addition have access to community interaction, then join in to the Healing and Freedom community today. You can do that right now by going to markdesus.com, click on community. And in a few weeks, I will be starting the OCD healing journey. I'm getting some of the beginning aspects of the teaching starting on that. I will be teaching through the book. I'm going to be taking my time. I'm going to be walking with people through this mentoring, helping to bring insights. This is a very, very important subject, super important subject. And I want to speak to this and be a teaching and a mentoring voice and be a brother in this process. So if you haven't gotten a copy of that book, be sure to get that. And if the book's been a blessing to your life and your journey, would you go online and just write a review? Reviews are what help the process. They help exposure to the book and help other people to be able to get access to it. It encourages other people to jump into that. If this broadcast is a blessing, please do me a favor, click like and subscribe. Please do that. That helps us a whole lot. You can also go to our website and donate to support these broadcasts as well. And let's see what else is happening. I think that's it. I'm going to get right to it if y'all don't mind. Some of you are like, just get to the point. Quit this fooling around that you're doing over here. Not having any fun. Okay. All right. I know I got some people like, don't have you. Get to the point. Get to the point, Mark. All right. And I frustrate people who want me to hurry up and get to the point because A, I usually crack some jokes or have some fun, or B, I take a journey. And people get frustrated when you take a journey, right? They're like, hurry up. And that's why a lot of people get frustrated in their walk with God, because they want God to hurry up and do a bunch of things. And then God is saying, hey, walk with me for a bit. we're all frustrated and discombobulated and bobulated all the time. So anyway, I'm going to get into an OCD question here in just a second. I'm going to get into a question on purpose. I'm going to get into is it about loving others, or is it about focusing on yourself, some self-esteem? And then if you want your best odds of a question being made in the live broadcast being addressed is if you hit it in the super chat. I'll also keep an eye on Rumble as well too. I see Katie in there. Welcome, Katie. Thank you so much. And thanks for the shout out. I'll let Max know of that. We're trying to encourage that gift in him too. He really has a good gift in his creativity and art, and spends hours and hours working on it. So happy to do that. All right, let's get into questions. This first question has to do with my pastor not me, the person asking, my pastor not really understanding OCD, and then the fallout that kind of happens. And there's a lot in here I relate to, a lot many of you all can relate to as well. As you know, your brother from another mother is in an interesting niche of work because I have decades of ministry and pastoral experience, but I speak about mental, emotional, and relationship health. I believe the Bible does. I believe it's important. I don't think it's a side issue. I think we as the body of Christ all need to grow in this. So I've been spending my years trying to bring awareness for our need for heart healing, all of us, of developing our emotional life, our relational life. And it hasn't been the easiest journey in getting people to understand the importance of it. So many of you in your journey, you get excited about what you're learning, what you're growing in, and then you want to share it with somebody, right? And then you share it with them and you get a little bit of a little bit of that going on. That doesn't exactly help. So a little bit of that's going to be in this question here, and I want to walk through it. Super thankful for all your resources, Mark. They've been a great help to me over the last year. I've been listening. I want to ask a question, and feel free to use it in a video if it helps others. My husband and I have faithfully been a part of a church here for a long time that has been so life-giving. We've received nothing but love and support from the friends, pastors, and leaders we have in our church home. We are thankful to attend a very healthy church that is truly doing an awesome thing in the community. That's wonderful. It's great. Our pastor recently met with us to check in about my struggle with anxiety because he sensed that lately I've seemed on edge. I think that was true, and honestly, I think comes out of your content helping me process emotions. Things have seemed to kick up more lately as I'm processing different aspects of healing. I mentioned to him the possibility of OCD being at the root of anxiety. Now, OCD and anxiety, it's not necessarily that OCD is the root of anxiety. It's more that OCD and anxiety are linked, and OCD can certainly cause a great deal of anxiety, but we also want to get to the heart of what drives OCD. Does that make sense? So I'm not trying to fix your words or anything like that. I get what you're saying. I wish that I had this understanding 20 years ago that what I was battling was actually an obsessive compulsive issue. I was dealing with it from a strictly anxiety issue. So I just described it as a strange anxiety that I had. When you understand obsessive compulsive, there's a particular pattern that's going on that then has a lot of anxiety that flows out of it. So anyway, he says, now this, I mentioned to him the possibility of OCD being at the root of anxiety. And he said he thinks it's only fruitful to explore that topic if I had a diagnosis. This is kind of a lot of times what people are doing is we're going for like the safe answer. It's like, well, if you get a diagnosis, many people kind of like, make sure you get a diagnosis. And, so what happens is we kind of separate this battleground out. And what I want to do is I want to take these subjects, OCD, anxiety, and depression, just as an example, right? And bring it to the collective understanding of us in the body of Christ. Because many times people say to me, well, I don't know if I have clinical depression, And it's like, well, if you have a lack of motivation and your mood is irritable and you struggle to enjoy things, you could relate to being. So a lot of times we get in this fixed system where you have to have a diagnosis in order for the helpful insights to have a helpful effect. I find over and over again when I talk about OCD, people will often respond, man, I don't know that I would be diagnosed like not fully in OCD, but man, I relate to what you're talking about. Many people in my tribe, I have a book right now on the OCD healing journey, and many in my tribe don't have OCD, and they're going through it. They're going through the book, and they're like, I'm getting a lot out of this. And I could see in areas of my life where I chase obsession, where I chase these disturbances and compulsively try to constantly fix them rather than having a more fruitful relationship with my thoughts. So those of you that have OCD, you're going to have these experiences where you try to explain it to somebody and you're going to get a little bit of this. You might get a little bit of, you could certainly get a little bit of, this one's, certainly a possibility, right? So anyway, my biggest concern is not you sharing it. My biggest concern is the fallout that you're experiencing as a result of this, right? So he says to you, he thinks it's only fruitful to explore the topic if I had a diagnosis, then told me why I probably don't have it. This is funny. It's like, go get a diagnosis, but I don't think you have it. Go get the official diagnosis, but I'm going to tell you the unofficial, I don't think you have it. And I don't think you have it because I'm not going around his office straightening picture frames. This is what frustrates me. It's not picture frame organization issue. This is like when pastors hear about what I'm doing, they're like, oh, you deal with counseling and emotions, and oh, you deal with a lot of problems, and as though they don't have any, oh, you deal with broken-hearted people, right? We all have these mindsets of what we think certain issues are. And OCD is not a primarily cleanliness and order kind of thing. That is just scraping the surface as to the depth of where disturbances go. So if you want to understand OCD, it's about disturbance. It's a disturbing thought. It's intrusive. There's something that, now it can be that picture frame needs to be straightened. That can be one of them. But this is why I'm trying to do what I'm trying to do, because pastors, you have people in your congregation. There is a percentage of people that have these disturbances. They're coming to you and they're meeting with you. You don't have to be a super mental health professional. You don't have to have all the answers. But if you just have a little bit of understanding, because then when you work with them, you'll realize the problem is not the problem, because they'll come to you and saying, I need to make sure I'm saved. I need to make sure I'm not a sexual a deviant, or I'm a reprobate, or I've committed unpardonable sin, because you'll be rifling through your Bible trying to give them verses, and then they keep coming back and they keep coming back and they keep coming back and they keep coming back. Anyways, I'm already starting to yell, and I just got started. I'm already hollering. The Puerto Rican side's already coming out. And the Norwegian side, the Scandinavian side's going, calm down, settle down, settle down. Okay? I'm going to have a little bit of fit here. All right, I'm in a calm place. Homeostasis is now back. I think he was trying to be lighthearted, and I could see where he was coming from, as that's a common stereotype of OCD, but that has not been my experience. I didn't really want to basically tell him he didn't understand it well. I felt kind of dismissed in the moment because I have really resonated with your content on OCD. After that, I wonder if it's a bad idea to keep learning about it since I don't have a formal diagnosis. I'm gonna tell you breaking news, folks. In my journey, I didn't have a formal diagnosis either. Do you know I went from counselor to counselor, and no one even brought it up for years? Did you know that? Some of you that are going through hard times in your journey, how about going through years and no one even brings it up? No one even brings it up. I heard it once from a prayer minister teacher who said, you've got a obsessive compulsive way of dealing with your issues. And but when I heard about OCD, I go, oh, I relate to that. And it wasn't until later on that I went, oh, it's actually a big part of my life. Now, when I went to counselors later on in life, they were able to see the pattern. I think we get obsessed with diagnosis. We get obsessed with the diagnosis. And the reason that, I'm going to get myself into trouble here, okay? So I have to give a mental health disclaimer. Please, blah, 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 blah. This is just for educational purposes. Right? Everybody, let's all just... let's all just calm down, okay? We have a culture that we live in where people are like, I need to make sure I get the diagnosis, because then we're conditioned to go, if you have this diagnosis, then this is the medication you need to go on. So diagnosis, medication, A, B, 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 and we kind of take that trail. I will talk about medication in a broadcast. I think I'm going to do a special broadcast on that, okay? Don't hyperventilate. Those of you that are on medication, those of you that are not, that are thinking about it, I'm not against it. Is it okay to be not against it, but also not 100% for it? Is it okay to have ground where we can talk about the factors, the problems that are there? Okay, so that's typically what we tend to look at. And so, do you need to have an official diagnosis? If you're depressed, you go, man, I just haven't felt myself lately. Do you need to go through many, many steps of getting diagnosed? Or how about just get some help? Just get some help. And I do find that people with OCD get very frustrated when they work with clinicians that don't understand OCD, or pastors or therapists or coaches, and they don't understand it, because they will keep addressing whatever your symptom is. So if you have whatever your intrusive thought is about, they go into that and go, oh, let's examine this, right? All this to say, I'm taking a long way of saying I relate to your frustration because I've gone through it many different forms in many different ways. So if you find yourself, and I know you've written to me before, and you find many of your patterns are compulsive, that if you relate to the teachings and it's helpful to you, that's wonderful. Like I said, I have people who they go, yeah, this isn't happening to me like a lot, but I see it enough where I go, that's something that I could work on and get some help working through. I hope what I'm sharing makes sense, because I know I'm jumping into a couple different areas here. Anyways, after that, I wondered if this is a bad idea since I don't have a formal diagnosis. By the way, no one's forcing you to watch anything I'm doing. You can certainly click out, but if what I'm sharing is helping make sense of what you're battling through, keep walking, keep on walking. They've cared for our family so well over the years, but I was a little upset because I didn't feel very heard in the moment. And this is where OCDers can go black and white. You share, right? You share something vulnerable. It doesn't really land. Sometimes it can drop like a lead sled. Sometimes it's that awkward silence. Sometimes you get the joke, but it doesn't go great. Whether you're talking to your pastor, your friend, your neighbor, or your in-laws or whatever, you try to express vulnerability, and then you have the hangover afterwards. You have the after effect, right? This is something that Melissa and I talk about a lot, and what we've had to work through relationally, because her and I, and you guys are so kind to us. You've been so great. Your transparency, we appreciate that so much. Yeah, it's not that easy at times, because we'll share and be vulnerable and get the massive crickets afterwards, right? You deal with the inner critic voices. Now, I would jump into my religious lady voice, but I have a problem. The mixer that does that has some serious bugs in it. So I'm actually back to an old mixer. I can't do my church lady voice. So I'm so sorry, because otherwise I would jump into that. And the after effect, where shame comes in. Whenever you're vulnerable, shame comes in and starts critiquing all the things you said and you shouldn't have said. And that was stupid. I've had this over and over and over again, because you take a step of vulnerability. People are not always able to handle the vulnerability that we deliver. So I want to bring perspective that's what's happening here, where you're going to, because then the black and white thinking happens. We shame and we go, I should have never shared. I shouldn't even have talked. I don't even know if I should even be with these people. Should I be in this church? What should I do? What should I do? Right? We go black and white. In shame, OCDers and perfectionists go black and white. We go heavy to one side or the other, all or nothing. Instead, and I'm going to give you two things that are important to understand in this moving forward, instead of a more gracious and compassionate response. Let me find my place. I was a little bit upset because I didn't feel heard in that moment. So some rejection kicked up, some shame and some rejection, right? The need to be heard and understood. And OCDers have a very massive aspect of when we talk about a root of rejection, where we have that need to be heard, and it can take over after, because we didn't feel like we're being heard. This would cause me to get angry, cause me to talk louder. If many of you like the sound of my voice, the strength of my voice, it's because I had to work it out. Growing up, I had to talk and get my voice so people would listen. So of course began spiraling. So you didn't feel heard in the moment, and began spiraling over how much time I've spent learning, and as if it was all meaningless and it meant something deeper about me needing some diagnosis, reason for how I feel sometimes. Side question: can OCD look like being a hypochondriac? Kind of, yeah, certainly. You can obsess about anything. There's unlimited subjects OCD can go into. That's one of the reasons why I can get a little tired talking about the subject. I do. I can get, because the questions, well, what about this? Same thing. It's OCD. Well, Mark, what about this? It's the same thing. It's still OCD. Well, what about this kind of thought? This kind of, same thing. It's obsessions and compulsions. So now you're being obsessive compulsive over the discussion, sharing obsessive compulsive, right? And then obsessive compulsive, I need to get a diagnosis. Now, weeks later, I have more compassion towards the interaction. Congratulations, this is great, because you let the dust settle, didn't react to everything. He genuinely cares for us, but now when I'm around him, I feel anxious and nervous, wondering if he's judging me for jumping to OCD as a cause for anxiousness. I'd feel the same thing. I'd struggle with the same thing. I've walked past people where maybe I had a weird interaction, like the conversation went socially awkward. It didn't go the best. And you kind of like, walking by in the hallway. You gotta be compassionate to yourself. It's understandable. And is he judging me, or if he has expectations of me? I have a bad past experience with a past pastor. Now we're getting to the root system of this. Just so you know, I say this in my coaching sessions at times. I just want to let you know, we're getting to ground zero now. Now we're getting more to the deeper issues of your struggle. I've had bad experience with a past pastor who, when I brought up these issues to him, refused to pray for me and told me, all right, calm down, Mark. And told me if I had more faith, I'd be over it by now. So he basically stuck a giant serrated knife into your wounded, vulnerable place. That trauma definitely kicks up, and I worry that my pastor is critical towards my struggle with anxiety and intrusive thoughts. I would probably have the same battle myself, and actually have, because there have been situations where I didn't feel heard, understood, safe in being able to just share what I was going through. And so, yes, that trauma experience. So why is it important to understand that somewhat traumatic experience that you had? It's an invitation for you to be kind to yourself. To go, hey, listen, it's understandable that I'm feeling this, feeling a little nervous, because otherwise you'll become compulsive and go back to your pastor and talk again. Hey, by the way, that thing about the OCD, can we just forget about? I'm sorry, I didn't mean that. I don't know if I got it. Then we try to fix it, right? We could try to go back and like fix that moment, or we avoid the pastor altogether. That's probably not what he thinks, but I get stuck there wondering that a lot. Because of all this, I've become wary. But I think that the wariness is out of disturbance or its own form of an intrusive what-if thought. I genuinely do think I either have OCD or at least intrusive thoughts linked back to some trauma. Yeah. One of the things that can happen out of trauma is we can develop OCD. I know for me, through some bad ministry experience, I guess you could, it's not a thing, but I'm just kind of giving a name to it, right? I know it seems like there's a name for everything. I get it. But I've had a series of what I would call ministry PTSD, just a series of a bunch of really difficult experiences, and found perfectionism ramping up so strong, that internal pressure. And I found obsessive thinking and then compulsive fixing ratcheted up even more. Control issues, trying to get everything just right, tension, stress. So that would breed anxiety, right? This is where you're saying your anxiety is rooted in OCD, right? It's where that world now creates a lot of anxiousness. Excuse me. So I think that's from what you're sharing, and again, I'm going by what you're sharing here. I think that's on the right track. I'm just struggling to reconcile having less than positive emotions over the meeting, which I knew was not meant to feel judgmental or critical. I think it's because I'm overanalyzing that if he is critical of me, what if that means we're not at a great church home after all? Okay, this is where OCD gets off the rails. And I talk about the 7 distortions, right? And one of them is interpretation. And I do see a lot of the distortions here. Overestimating threats, inflated responsibility. But number 3 there, the distorted meaning, interpretation. That's an important thing to keep in mind here, because we can go black and white. Maybe this is what he thinks of me. We shame ourselves. I'm overanalyzing it now. And this maybe, and this can go further and further out, into other interpretations. Maybe we're not in the right church after all. Maybe I've been deceived. Maybe I've been, and you start catastrophizing. I'm overanalyzing if I'm offended towards him or I'm being too critical of everything he said. And if instead I should have just taken it with a grain of salt, appreciated his heart to reach out and see how we're doing and carry on in my healing and freedom journey. Okay. What you're saying there, yes, is ideal. Okay, I should have just taken it with a grain of salt, appreciated his heart to reach out and see how we're doing and carry on in my healing and freedom journey. Yes, that's true, but that's not that easy to apply when you have a vulnerable emotional moment. Okay, this is stuff Christians don't talk about, is these difficult in-between kind of spaces. We beat ourselves up. I should be a good Christian. Yes, what you're saying is true, but you're also coming out of bad experiences with a pastor. I see this all the time with people, in my own pastoring, where I ran into people that were not so nice, not so kind. They're not mad at me. They're mad out of the pain they've experienced that needs healing from the last person, the last pastor, the last leader, and I just resemble that somehow, right? So kindness to yourself is truly important here. You said, I don't know if that makes a lot of sense, but I don't like having conflicting thoughts and feelings towards my pastor, who I love, and I know loves me as well. This is kind of the no tolerance that OCDers have in the all or nothing. I got to feel absolutely amazing, or I'm in the wrong church. And it's like, no, he doesn't necessarily handle everything great, and that's okay. He's where he's at. He's where he's at, and that's okay in his journey. That's kind of, he doesn't think it is. If you went to 10 pastors, maybe 8 of them would probably dismiss it anyways. It's okay. The key here is how you relate to yourself in this. I don't like having conflicting thoughts. Oh, I read that. Please help this Spinnerton. So here's what I want to share with you. The issue here is really about shame. When we take a moment of vulnerability, he asks you how you were doing. From what you're writing, I ain't trying to judge. Didn't seem like he handled what you're going through in the best way. Okay, that doesn't make him the enemy. It doesn't make him reprobate. It doesn't make anything wrong, like beating him up. But he did try to cultivate a vulnerable conversation. And so with that, we got to honor vulnerability. So you were vulnerable and shared. Didn't go well. You walk out, shame hits you. So there's two things I want to encourage you in. Number one, celebrate vulnerability. When you're vulnerable and you take a moment to share of something, whether it goes well or not, celebrate it. Celebrate it. You know what? I shared. You know how many times I've shared stuff with people and it didn't go well at all? I share stuff on YouTube and Rumble and it doesn't exactly go the way I thought and the way that I planned. The way people take things, I go, oh, goodness. Oh, right? And it can start to trigger some of my own, patterns that I'm working through. Celebrate that you shared. Celebrate that you were vulnerable. When you walk away from an interaction and you feel that like yucky, like I just want to shower it off kind of feeling, right? It usually meant you took a step of vulnerability and it just didn't go well. Because what we want to do is we want to combat shame. Shame will go into, so stupid, why'd you say that? How many of you out there, you get that? So stupid, why'd you say that thing? Why'd you say it this way? You know how many times I could have easily done that, conversations and videos and teachings and sermons. I've had certain things that replay of things I've said in sermons I would just play over and over and over again. And I would try to fix it, repent of it. I would try to apologize. I would do all kinds of things. And you know what? The greatest thing that has helped me is to just accept the flawed, weak, imperfect aspects of my journey. And each time the memory would come up, I just respond more loving each time. And the first time it'd feel like, oh, I can't do this. The second time, I still don't think I can do this. The third time, I'm like, oh, I don't know. And then the fourth time I go, well, maybe I could be just a little bit kinder about this memory. And then a little more, and then a little more, and a little more. Okay, so the first thing is celebrate vulnerability. Second thing, when we push shame back, we then can ask, what can I learn out of this? And you know what I learned in my journey is to guard who I share the mental health, emotional struggles of my journey with. People need to show that they're trustworthy, right? And they need to show that they're safe and able to handle it. Now, I put my neck out there. I'm not expecting y'all to be like me in that way. And putting your neck out there, like I talk on video of my journey. I answer questions. I put a lot out there of what I've had to go through and what I've had to learn. And we'll continue that. You don't have to be like that. But you want to be vulnerable in certain areas where it's like, you know what? I need to share with this person because this could make our relationship better. And I think this is time for me to be vulnerable. Or maybe you do share in your church or in your small group or in your setting, right? But ask yourself, what can you learn? Because I see your journey as like when Jesus said, don't share your pearls before swine, meaning, I'm not calling your pastor swine, but the pearl is the beauty of your journey, what you're learning, what you're growing in. Don't just toss it to anybody. Now, when you do get vulnerable and it doesn't work out, celebrate that. Go back to step one, celebrate vulnerability. And two, what could I learn? And then I learned, give it a little bit more time. I think it's good in relationships to test the waters, meaning if I was in a church and I wanted to talk to a pastor and he was asking me how I was doing or whatever, he was checking on me, I would want to have a conversation with him about mental health in general. And just kind of hear, what's his thoughts? What's his perspectives? And I may hear some things I go, yeah, I'm not sharing with this guy. Just being honest. I'm not sharing with this guy. Because I can see there's people I talk to when you talk about somebody else and see how they respond talking about somebody else. And you're like, wow, yeah, they have a very shamey, condemning kind of approach. And I think so. So I think number one is beware of the shame factor. Be kind to yourself, celebrate your sharing. And two, what can I learn? So that next time, I used to blurt out my story right off the jump because I wanted people so badly to walk a heart healing journey. I would just share it right off the jump. And I had to learn to give it time, to ground it, to treasure the story, treasure the journey that I'm on. So I pray that's a blessing to your journey. And if the OCD healing journey is helpful, then by all means, let it be helpful. Anyway, I see the super chat here from Nathan McGuire. I have scrupulosity. I've struggled with it like 5 years. I'm assuming you mean for like 5 years. The approach I'm taking is like, and all I know is Christ crucified, which I think is what Paul said. So that seems to be helping, just like relying on God through thoughts. Thanks for your comment. Again, I encourage those of you that you want to work through scrupulosity and religious OCD, go to the link that has all my resources that go down that road. markdejesus.com/OCD help. I'm over here in YouTube, also checking over. Okay. Let me just give me 1 second here. If I could. Let me just double check my notes and questions while we take a dance break. I think I'm gonna address a question. Yeah, let's do this. I'm gonna address this as the second question here. I'm gonna bring in a audio question, and this one's actually been in the hopper for a while. So I'm gonna bring it up, and I think it'd be worth addressing.
Hello, Mark. Hello, Melissa. And first of all, thank you so much for your ministry.
Well, hello.
I find it so empowering, liberating, real, funny, and it's helping me a lot and helping me in teaching others as well. My question today, can you help me, please? I feel
I mean, what when you have that kind of accent and you say, "Can you help me, please?" How can you not help?
like I have a conflict or a confusion even over the the difference between trying to address and have heart healing for rejection, insecurity, esteem, all that kind of thing, and the the other approach that I've become aware of in books such as Timothy Keller's book, The Freedom of Self-Forgetfulness, and is it Sharon Hod Miller, who's written about Free of Me, and their approach is don't think about your self-esteem, don't think about yourself at all. Get your mind off yourself and think of Jesus, think of others. So I feel like I'm shuttling between these two different approaches, and I don't know where to land. I don't know where to position myself when I'm in a place and some of those negative feelings seem to be swallowing me into their vortex.
So let me jump in real quick because I haven't read the book. You mentioned Timothy Keller, who just passed away recently. I know who he is. I haven't followed a lot of his materials, but I'm aware of him. The other author I wasn't aware of. But this has been a ongoing conflict that I hear in many people in many different ways. And the first thing I have to bring up front, when we talk about heart healing, we're talking about the love of God. And what I have to help people understand is love is a flow in relationship. It is something that is exchanged in relationship. You and I have 3 relationships: with God, with ourselves, with others. You relate to yourself. You talk to yourself all day long. It's called self-talk. You have thoughts, perceptions, things, ways that you react, right? So what I want to bring into focus is that each of the 3 areas need tender, compassionate nurture and teaching. We're in a problem right now where historically we've been in a place where love relationship as Christians is love God, love people. It's the banner of most churches. Love God, love people. And both are you're taught culturally doing things to show love to God, doing things to love people. So it developed into a performance-driven environment. It's wiping people out. It's burning people out. My inbox and my interactions are flooded with people that are wiped out and burned out from doing, going, trying. And because we haven't understood the love flow in relationship, we love God because he first loved us. So we have to learn how to receive his love. How do we learn how to just receive that? And how do we also love others as ourselves, as Jesus talked about, where you love other people out of the same aspect of what you would want? How are you going to even be aware of that if you're completely ignoring yourself? We went very black and white. I haven't read those books. I don't know anything about those teachers, but I do know there's this mindset of don't think about yourself at all. And I find that this can be a very mentally unhealthy lifestyle. And I have ministered over my lifetime to countless people that are struggling with deep depression, or their families are in ruin, their marriages are struggling, their inner life is in turmoil, or even it's gotten down to physiological disease. There's out of don't think about me. Don't worry about me. Don't worry about me. They completely live a life of ignoring themselves, ignoring their life. And I take a stand against that mindset. Now, we can get into ditches in any area. Could a teaching on self-love out of context make somebody obsessed with themselves? Yes, totally could. What I'm combating is a long-standing problem of Christians being told, just do more, do more, do more, do more. A lot of modern Christianity is you wake up in the morning, you do your quick devotion, you check off the list that you read your Bible, and you go do all day. You collapse in bed at night, you go, man, I feel so discouraged, I feel this, and you kind of just collapse into bed, go to bed, and you do it again the next day. And this is constant cycle that we live in. When you watch the life of Jesus, you see a lot of him actually not doing, stepping away, getting to be by himself. And you'd say, well, that's to go and pray. Is it? Is it only to pray? Is he praying the entire time he's away from the crowd? Or is he living a life that is more balanced, well-rounded, where he's inhaling and exhaling, where he, exhaling, giving of himself, inhaling, taking in life? He only had 3 years now, you have to understand. If your existence on this earth was limited to 3 years, every one of you would be hustling, panicking. He lived the exact opposite. At rest. I think if Jesus lived today, he would frustrate the modern system simply by his pace. So heart healing is not obsessing over yourself. It's becoming aware compassionately. Awareness is a great word to use. When I'm aware of something, I'm not fixated on it. I'm not obsessed over it. I'm not hypervigilant over it. I see it. I got brokenness. You notice. Awareness is more about noticing. In fact, I think self-awareness leads more into discernment than what people often call discernment. It's a relaxed noticing, right? So what I teach people is, where's the block in the flow of love in your life? Oh, I feel disconnected. I don't feel close to God. It's one of the number one Christian battles. I don't feel close to God. Okay, how are you receiving love? And Mayo say, terrible. Tell me about your upbringing, right? Does that mean you obsess all day about your upbringing? Now, I'm going to tell all you this because many of you have obsessive compulsive tendencies. You start spending, I'm spending too much time focusing on myself. Sometimes there's seasons though where you go into more intense, where you are focused on yourself. And I don't panic over that. Like, something's going to happen. You know what? You've been ignoring yourself. You now need to look at yourself through love, and maybe you get into a ditch and you'll course correct. In marriage, I apply the concept of love in marriage. Anything that you take and learn about love, it needs to work in marriage. That's my litmus test. The way people talk about love and a healthy, growing marriage. Because I find, the Bible says a man who loves his wife loves himself. I find that working self-hate out of my life has been one of the greatest game changers in who I am as a husband. I wouldn't have made it as a husband. I wouldn't be effective as a dad if I didn't work through shame and self-hate. In the animosity I had towards myself, which then produced an irritable presence in my relationship world. And so as I've allowed space for that to heal, I practice. Now, I don't stare at myself all day. Loving myself is not staring at myself. In fact, being loving towards myself opens up the flow to you, because now I'm more head up looking to be a more loving vessel. Now, there's also been aspects too where self-surviving, selfishness, what am I getting out of this, that can take over, that I go, no, we're just going to kill that. We're going to burn that. That doesn't need to own the space. I'm going to freely love here. Right? So it's both. I'm being aware of where I need healing, but I'm sacrificially loving. And then you start to learn where you get into the ditches. Now, this question that's being sent in, I sense a bit of headiness of, I want to get it just right where I'm focusing. And it's really about living in the flow. You find yourself, I'm staring at myself too much today. You know what? It's all right. DeJesus, lighten up. All right. I notice in my day where it's like, I need a good conversation with somebody. Let me talk with a friend. Let me talk with my wife. Let me just have a good conversation with someone, because I'm in my world of stuff. I need to open it up. Or I feel like, God, I'm struggling. I need to pause and just reflect and learn to receive his love, and spend some time just echoing that back, because loving God is a response of the love that he has for you. Right? So that's why I use the three, like in the diagram, God, you, others, and living in that flow. So I think in your journey, ask yourself, where's the block? Now, there's a lot of people, a lot of Christians that look at what I'm doing and go, yeah, you're teaching people the navel gaze, introspective. You know what that means? It means they're uncomfortable with these subjects. They haven't gone there. Because when you go there and work through it, you see it and you appreciate it. You got that. They're working on their journey. That's good. That's good. So you're going into heart healing, but then you feel conflicted. And I'm not saying those other books are saying the opposite or not. I don't know what they're saying. You feel conflicted, so you get heady. I want to do this just right. Then you feel these negative emotions, negative thoughts come in. Well, if we're ignoring ourselves, then we just ignore those things, and then stuff festers over time. Then we're more angry, we're more depressed, more irritable. And we're not paying attention to areas that need tender nurture, not obsession. Okay, because I always have to clarify that, because it's always a tendency for people to take things into an obsessive route. Let me back this up just a few seconds here to get back to your question and some of the details that you're sharing with me.
When I'm in a place and some of those negative feelings seem to be swallowing me into their vortex, in the areas that I most contend with.
When negative emotions, negative thoughts arise, the first response, it's all about how we respond, is kindness. Now, as a kid growing up, I was told, Mark, just stop thinking about that. Right? And it's like, okay, how do I do? Oh, stop. Okay, stop thinking. Yeah. Instead, respond kindly to it. All right. So I got some negativity going on. I've got some maybe if you use your voice, I've got a tad bit of negativity today. Isn't that so gentle? Rather than the American, stop thinking that way. Stop thinking that way. Ask not what your country could do for you. Say, I have a bit of negativity floating on as those negative thoughts come up. You don't obsess about it. You don't get introspective in all these areas. You don't fuss over it. You don't get legalistically biblical over yourself. You just gently notice that you're having some negativity. I'm aware of negative thoughts that are beginning to float through. So when you do that, now you're changing your response to it. So you're actually tending to yourself without obsessing. Because then you may notice, I didn't get good sleep last night. I'll just be mindful to get to bed at a better time tomorrow. Or you know what? I'm a little hypoglycemic right now. I got a blood sugar kicking up. Or that conversation, that last question, the conversation with my pastor didn't go really well today. And now I feel like I'm negative today. Be kind to it, because then you help realize what you need, and then you start moving forward and you go about your day, not staring at yourself.
How do I position myself in that moment? Do I adopt an approach of loving myself and being kind and no condemnation and looking for healing? Or do I try and get out of myself and don't think of yourself and don't look for healing? Just think of Jesus, think of other people. And
I think it's both, actually, too. It's like, be loving, be kind to yourself. I'm having some negativity. Just let that float in. Just let it float right in and float right out. And then go about your day. And then you notice, it's problematic. Maybe I need to make a little time for myself to be still and quiet. Because we live in a burnout culture. We live in a burnout culture. Where most people live in one day is very stress-filled and will produce a lot of negativity. Okay? So, but then there is a place like, all right, so in my home, I got, Max, my daughter, my wife, I've got many of the people I work with, the community, etc., 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 as Willy Wonka would say. I'm very heart aware, and certainly there's moments where I go, all right, I need to go about my day, and God, you'll show me what I need to show me, right? That it's not sitting staring and staring and staring. Okay, so let me finish this out here.
I don't know. That's hard too, and I hope I've made clear the dichotomy that I find myself in.
Dichotomy.
Could you speak about this? Could you write about this somewhere? What is your take on the approach of don't try and address self-esteem, whether it's too high or too low?
I don't know that I necessarily talk about self-esteem, that word, a lot. Self-esteem has a lot of meanings to it, basically how you feel about yourself. There is a tendency where we can do too much checking. How do I feel? How do I feel? How do I feel? That's introspection. And in fact, I discourage introspection. How do you know you're introspecting? Go to my video on it, Mark DeJesus Introspection, and you can check that out. So it's not so much about, okay, I don't feel good about myself, so I got to sit here and fuss over it. No, I see it in love. Observe. What am I learning? What's important right now? Okay, let me apply this, because the love that I'm connecting to, I need to give it out. Every aspect of love that you and I receive in our life is meant to flow out. It's not meant to stay stuck. So see where you're stuck. And you may be stuck on yourself, and that's unfruitful. I know way back in my journey, I broke agreement with introspection because I was like, I'm doing this too much. I'm trying to grow by staring at myself. And I got to pick my head up and let love flow and notice areas that I'm not going to dismiss them. I'm not going to condemn them, and let myself learn through practicing. Because as I love you, I learn to manifest what I'm learning in my life and learn to live out of the love that you're learning in your own journey. So pray that was a blessing to your life. Over here in the super chats. Okay, Aaron, Galatians 6:8 seems to teach works-based eternal life based on sowing to the Spirit. How do I reconcile this with eternal life? By faith. You're saved by grace through faith. It's not of yourselves, it's a gift of God. It's not of works. You can't do something to earn salvation, but salvation changes our lives and shows up in our life and how we live. So James and Paul, because James talked a lot about, you want to show me who you are. Let me see what your life is like. And Paul says, hey, we can't earn it. They both work together because we need both of an understanding of that. So that's what's up. Let me get to another question here. Trying to figure out what I should be doing. I'm looking at this. I'll make sure I get an understanding of the question. I have a question for you about the relationship between living your life, submitting to God by surrendering to Him. Okay, I can feel the surrendering to God. I feel this. Have I truly surrendered enough? Coming to a theater near you this summer. Not surrendered. I don't know. I don't know if that's where you're going at all. I just think I'm getting obsessive in my thinking about it. So I thought I'd write to you and maybe you'd have some insight. That's going to be a new compulsion I'll have to add to the second edition of the OCD healing journey. Is compulsion is write Mark a question. So the premise of this journal entry, oh, you give me a journal entry. Right. Gotcha. Is that I've been thinking a lot about a new crush. Oh, snap. You got a crush on somebody. And about increasing my income. So do you think increasing your income is going to help you in talking to your new crush? I don't know. So, interestingly, both of these areas have been areas I have felt powerless, hopeless, and really sad, angry, and stuck in for a long time. They both feel a need for change. Yeah, and what I would do is right off the jump, I would tell you, go to markdesus.com, click on topics, click on the link Heart, Healing, and Freedom. And right at the top, it's going to say start here. Go there because it's going to address how do we look at what we're going through an empowering lens for what we need. Because if you're powerless, hopeless, really sad, angry, stuck, you feel like you're hitting a wall. And when you're hitting a wall, it becomes a limitation, right? And it starts to condition us. We start to talk about how big the wall is, how bad it is, how difficult it is. It gets reinforced. Where usually those walls are not walls in the sense of like a brick wall. It's a membrane, right? And cells have like a membrane, and a membrane is stretchable. It's not a limitation, but it appears like it. It's actually a place of learning. I did a whole series a few years back on breaking limitations off of your life. And talk about victim thinking, self-pity, even foreboding. We get conditioned by our limitations. We have to be aware of where walls become prisons in our life. We become imprisoned by something and we get used to the imprisonment. So if we look at it lovingly, then we can, and compassionately, we invite the learning that we need. Because everywhere where I go, oh, that's not going to work. Oh, that's not, we fuss in our limitations. You said here it's a crush. So somebody that you have you have a love interest in, and then your money. More money, more problems. Just kidding. And so these are areas where this is causing you to stretch. This is an opportunity to stretch, and that membrane is needing to be stretched. That muscle in your life needs to be developed, right? Because a new relationship, it brings out how we see ourselves, how we feel, self-esteem, you could even say. And money, all of us have a relationship with money. Is it a fruitful one? Is it a good one? Or is it a toxic, disempowering one, right? So it's an opportunity for you to stretch and learn in those areas. I haven't even gotten to your question. So increase of income and new crush, both pretty exciting things I'm hoping for, but I need to remember to enjoy these things and not become trapped and overpowered by them and the power of my desire for them. Sounds to me like you're more fussing over, you have obsessive tendencies, and so that obsession can take over. We don't grow in things by being obsessed. Obsession doesn't lead to godliness. Currently, my heart is in trying to figure out what I should be doing, confused yet, full of desire. Does anything need to be done? I'm trying to trust in God, but also do my due diligence. So where do we land, folks? Trusting God, or do I have to do this? We've separated these two issues as though they are exclusive to one another. Trusting God's over here, and me doing something is over here. Just like the person in the comments who was like, wait, is it faith? Is it works? And what we need to do is trusting God and taking a step need to be merged together. I show I'm trusting God by taking a step. I take a step as a way to learn to trust God. Sometimes we see trusting God as like not doing anything. See me, guys? See me? Everybody look. Mark, what are you doing? I'm trusting. And OCDers fuss over trust. Proverbs 3, 5, and 6, they fuss. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Okay, am I trusting? I'm trusting. And lean not on your own understanding. And they take that to mean don't think. I had a thought, an idea. Oh, I'm leaning on my own understanding. Stop. Right? And they spin out in those scriptures. Somebody told me a couple weeks ago, they're like, can we have an OCD church that we just all attend? Can be a church for the OCDers? And which I thought was hilarious. But I was like, the problem is it doesn't matter. The sermon is going to kick up people. It's going to kick up disturbances. I learn new ones every day that rise up. Well, we take trusting God over here. I'm trusting, and what I'm doing is over here. Why not have them connected to each other? So you have a desire, you want to improve your finances, and you have a relationship that you have in desire. It's great. It's great. Don't look at that negatively, judgmentally. Christians have been taught with desire, throw away all desire. When we look at the word lust, that's forbidden desire. Desire for that which is God's forbidden. That's lust. But what about desire? What about desire that's a tree of life? What about he shall give you the desires of your heart? So it was a big healing aspect of my journey because I thought anything I wanted, God didn't want. Always went like God's on one side and I'm on the other side. So you have desire. Now trust is going to look like this. Trust is a lifestyle. I'm practicing trust, right? I'm practicing it. So I have to deal with my control issues. Where I get into control, I get anxious. Anxious is a big part of learning to trust, right? For example, if I never had anyone watch my kids, and my wife and I go, we need to have a date life, so we need someone to watch my kids, and they were little, right? I would need somebody that I trust, right? But I would still, if it was the first time, I remember we would go out for the first time. It's like, oh, are they okay? Are they okay? And you have to actually practice in that moment, not giving into anxiety. That's an example. But I'm still, what am I practicing? I'm practicing going out on a date with my wife. Now, how does this apply to your journey? Because you're in the struggle of what do I need to do? You practice each day, trust. Practice. What does that look like today? You know what? What's getting in the way of trust? Anxiety? Hyper busyness? Right? I'm trying to make all this stuff happen. Relax. Because the life with God is one step at a time. It's not figuring it all out. It's one step. In all your ways, acknowledge him. And that really should, a good translation of that. In all your ways, know God. It's that yada, that know, right? I think it's that word. Just intimate knowing. In all your ways, have an intimate knowing of him. It's not obsession over direction. Am I going here or go there, go there? We get obsessed about that. Is this your will? Is this not your will? In all your ways, just know God. Just draw close to him in all things. Just be aware of him in a good way. God, thank you that you're here, that you're with me, that you're guiding me, that you're making my path straight. And I trust in that. Meanwhile, I'm taking steps. I'm facing my fears. I'm overcoming obsession. I'm letting go of perfectionism. I'm letting go of control. And I'm learning how to take my peace that you're at work in my life, because that builds confidence. Trust builds confidence because I know he's at work in my life. Now that takes practice. It takes learning. Right now, I am learning to trust in new areas I didn't have to deal with 10 years ago. And now I'm at a new layer. This is why I'm always encouraging my brothers and sisters. There's new layers. There's new chapters God takes you into. So you're fussing over, what do I need to do? What's God doing? Because you said, also, I'm trying to trust in God and also do my due diligence in living my life. So it's not trusting God over here and you doing your due diligence. It's God is in your life. He is in you, working in and through you. Instead of simply asking and not knocking or seeking, so to speak, go ahead and ask. Bring your request to him. But my heart isn't looking for something to try to make something happen. Is that wrong? What I say is don't put so much pressure. We put a lot of pressure on things, right? The life in God is ideally in a place of rest, learning to let go. But here's the thing. We have to give ourselves room to practice. There are times where I go, you know what? I think I'm being passive and I need to take a step. That is over months and months of looking back and going, I think I'm in a pattern. Or you're exhausted and you go, I'm striving too much. We try to correct ourselves before we practice. And God is actually bringing course correction as you move. It's like, hey, come on, over here. You're getting too much in striving. Keep going, but keep going. Keep taking steps. You're getting passive because you're afraid. You're procrastinating because you're afraid. Come on, let's get back here. He's very gentle working with. We fuss. We want to course correct, fix it before we take the step. And that's what you're doing. You're trying to fix it. And I'm saying, go ahead and take steps. Where's the line between me just living my life and letting go to let God do the work? There isn't a line. There's a line. Is there a line? Wait. I don't see a line. Is there a line? Is there a line? I don't know. Let's see the. I can make a. Here we go. There's your line. It's you just living your life and letting God do the work. You have to bring them together. It's God at work in you. And don't look at them as separate entities. Does this make sense, y'all? So I hope this is a blessing to your life and to your journey. Please click the like button and subscribe. That helps me. It helps my self-esteem if you click like. I like that. That was a good callback. Pray this was a blessing to your life and to your journey. I believe, Lord willing, the creek don't rise. My wife and I will be back next Sunday. We'll have to. I think our schedule. Yes, I think we're good. But again, get a copy of the OCD Healing Journey. If you want to jump into the community, you can do that tonight. You can do that today. I'll be doing a question and answer actually later this week. And we'll be starting the OCD Healing Journey here in just a couple of weeks. I'm finalizing the details of when I'm going to get started on that. But ladies and gentlemen, it's been great to be with you. I'll do one last look at any super. Thank you for the super chats, the blessings, the thank yous. Appreciate that, Rashawn. How do you interpret Jude 1:23 as it relates to fear? Well, I have the whole Bible memorized, so let me pull it. No, I don't. Jude, bringing it. I'll see if I have a quick answer here. Jude. 3 John, Jude, and Revelation. Would you say Jude 23? Yeah, that had to be broken down. It's not like a quick answer. It sounds like an OCD spiral. But it. Mercy, grace, and just on some have compassion, making a distinction whether saved with fear, pulling them out of the fire. Yeah, there's some people that get pulled out. It looks to me, just taking a quick look at that, it's like people that get pulled out. They're living in darkness and defilement. And that fear is talking about like a reverent, like an awareness. That's not anxiety. That's not OCD. It does not say save others with obsessive compulsive. Anyways, hope this is a blessing, y'all. See you soon. Lord willing, the creek don't rise. Your brother from another mother, saying I'll be bringing you more insights for your healing and freedom journey. I'm going to go take my son out for some dinner. In the meantime, I'm hungry and I'm out.